Well, Dr. Keith Canner is here, so let me introduce him. Excuse me. May I have your attention, please? Dr. Keith Canner is best known as one of the 5 life changers on Extra TV, which he's been doing for 8 years, helping people on their journey to make their lives happier and healthier. He is an entrepreneur of a health and wellness practitioner with over 200 people in his network. And without further ado, I will turn the microphone over to Dr. Keith Canner. I don't know if you want to use the microphone, but you absolutely can.
Can you hear me like this? Or mic's better? What's better for you guys? Oh, we can hear you. Is this better? Or is that better? Somebody tell me. Is this or the other? Which is better?
No mic.
I'll try no mic. Okay. Anyway, nice to meet you all. I actually didn't know about your school until 2 days ago. And this is great. So how many of you actually want to be entrepreneurs? Let me see some. Okay. So some of you. Does anybody not want to be an entrepreneur? Let me ask why. Why don't you want to be one? Do you know what they are?
Well, not really. In the context I've heard, it's more of a buzzword than it has actual meaning. So
it actually has meaning. No, it does.
Well,
But it is a buzzword. You're right. And these days, go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
So I think you were still talking.
Oh, I'm sorry, but go ahead. Buzzword.
Yeah, I'd be excited to hear your take on it and what you think it means.
Sure.
Because I haven't really heard a thorough explanation.
Okay. Do you have something on that?
Yeah, for me, the reason I don't really want to be an entrepreneur is because I might be able to think of an idea for a business,
Yeah.
I just couldn't get people to believe in it.
Right. That's a great. Did you hear that? That's like super important. That you'd like to be getting somebody to believe in your idea.
Because I could come up with an idea, but I just couldn't communicate it well enough to get other people to believe in it.
That's a great point. You can come up with the idea, but communicating it.
That's my problem.
That's a great point. I think that's for everybody. Okay, because getting somebody to actually agree with something that you have in mind is not that easy of a task. But let's talk about what an entrepreneur actually is. An entrepreneur, by definition, just so you know, is somebody who runs their own business. That's an entrepreneur. In the old days, in America, we would call it the mom and pop business. Do you guys ever heard that term? Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is where actually entrepreneurs were second jobs. This is how it went back. So people would have a job, they would work, but they would look at their job as being something to make some money and maybe not something that they're passionate about. So they would start their own business like on a Saturday and Sunday. That's how this whole thing started. And so people would actually do their own enjoyment in terms of a career on a weekend and still work during the week for somebody else so they could make their own money. So things have changed. That's the old days of entrepreneurs. These days, you get people becoming more entrepreneurs, meaning that they're trying to create their own unique business.
So they're becoming more independent.
Kind of the American way, that you can create something that's different, that's on your own, that's independent, that's supported. So yeah, so it's actually something that you independently do. That doesn't mean that you can't work in a group, but it's something you independently come up with. And most people, what's your first name? Owen? Holland. Same thing he's saying, is that this is not an easy thing to do. But then again, these days, do you guys know how difficult it is to get into college now? How many of you know? Raise your hand. Okay, because we're seeing some serious stuff going on now in the U.S. and in particular California. We're getting into public universities is a lot harder and private than it used to be. How many of you know that? And we see this with grade inflation. You guys all know what APs are, right? So it's bumped the whole system up. So like the average, you guys know this, like the average GPA to get into UCLA. How many of you know UCLA? 4.2.
Jeez.
Wait, 4.2. I have 2 clients last year who had 4.1s. They didn't get it. 4.2. Okay, yes.
And from what I've heard, it's like in this trimester, basically
Yeah.
this person in high school was like the best, like
Yeah.
I'm not sure, what was that word that basically you have like what the highest GPA? Oh yeah, like valedictorian and all that, and
Yeah.
like he wanted to go to ECS.
Yeah.
You know that, like, you know, high GPA and all that. Didn't get in.
Yeah.
From what, and my teacher told me who knows her, he's like, I want to go into UCSD, you know, medical and all that. She said that, like, I have a better chance of getting to Stanford
That's right.
than UCSD.
That's true. That's true.
And Stanford has like an acceptance rate of like less than 5%.
Yeah, you know how they accept their applicants at Stanford? They take all the applications, go to the highest building at Stanford, throw them off the top of the building, and the first 200 that hit the ground, they let them in. I'm joking, but that's kind of what it's like. So,
He's just checking on your intention.
no, the good news in this whole thing, guys, is don't worry. No, I mean that. Because as things have changed in terms of education and going to college or wherever you're going to go, things have changed now. So it's not only one choice. You have a lot of choices. And there's things that you can actually do now to increase your chances of getting into a college or a trade school, which we'll talk about too, better than ever. So be happy. It's not the end of the world. I mean, we've done a lot of research around this area about what are we going to do if we've got all this public education around and people can't get in because we have grade inflation. Grade inflation is a problem. The good news is changes are happening. So people are not only applying, just so you know, to universities these days, they're also applying to trade schools. How many of you know what trade schools are? Okay, polytechnics. You ever heard the term? Polytechnic? We have them here. We have the Cal State Polytechnic, San Luis Obispo. Polytechnics, by definition, just so you know if you ever hear the term, are like trade schools, which means you go to a college or you go to a school and you learn a trade. What would be an example of a trade?
Engineering.
Engineering would be a trade. Let's go another one.
Medical.
Medical. Medical's a little bit, well, in terms of like medicine or medical like sales or something like that. Medicine's a little different. That's not trade. You still have, that still has university attached to it.
It's technically a trade, but it's a very advanced trade.
Very advanced trade. We don't have trade medical schools yet, but it's a good point. Yes, question? Somebody? Yes.
Is air conditioning a trade?
Yes. Technical stuff are trades. So trade schools are becoming as popular as universities because you have a better chance of getting a job coming out of a trade school than coming out of a college these days. Did everybody hear that? I can't tell you how many people I've worked with in the last 2 years who have graduated from universities, have immense student loans. They cannot get a job.
Oh, yeah.
They can't. I mean, I have one client who went to Stanford. How about that? Can't get a job.
We all heard the story of, like, college students getting, like, these degrees and all that, and yet they wait for, like, years or so just to get a job.
Correct. So that's kind of a bummer, especially if you have student loans. How many of you think you're probably going to have to take a student loan? Raise your hand. It should be most of you. Okay, you ready for this, guys? 85% of people who go to college have to take out a student loan. Why is that a bummer?
I'm sorry.
Why is it a bummer that you have to take out a student loan?
Because, A, you have to owe the bank
You have to pay them back.
And nobody really looks at the financial aid.
They do now, but I'm trying not to scare you. I'm actually trying to encourage all of you because I would tell you to worry if there was really something to really worry about. But I've been working in this field for a long time as an entrepreneur and working with a lot of upcoming entrepreneurs. In the last 2 years, I've helped people start 600 businesses. 600 in 2 years. Isn't that cool? Entrepreneurs. All separate things. And they're all doing relatively well because there are some basic things that you need. If you want to be an entrepreneur, there are some basic things that you need to have in your tool belt. Does any of you know what those are? Have any of you read anything about characteristics of entrepreneurs? Anybody? Good, because I'll give you some. Have you? Did you really? Did you hear something about entrepreneurs that was interesting?
I think you just have to go back to like the basic moral standing of a person and just like the root values that lead to the qualities that an entrepreneur might have.
That's a
These
great
are
point.
basic qualities.
Okay, give me one.
Like just bravery, lack of fear.
Okay.
That is the basic quality. If you have no fear going forward, then you have no fear in your future endeavors.
Okay, I like that point. We just did a study on entrepreneurs that I'm going to give you research that's not published yet, but I've got some good stuff for you about characteristics. That's a great idea. I like the positive, non-fear. But sometimes, guys, a little bit of fear is good. Why is sometimes a little bit of fear good? It keeps you what?
Alive.
It keeps you on your toes. Okay, so, being kind of a smart think about it, right?
Some people.
I think you're just looking at the core value right now.
Core value, I like.
Build up from there.
We're going to talk about core values. We have a list of 5 different personality traits that we looked at that show kind of where the entrepreneurs fall into, and I'm going to go through that in a minute. But okay, so some of you want to be entrepreneurs. Some of you want to do other things. Can I hear some things that others of you want to do? Yes, sir.
Sort of like work in bioengineering and possibly a little bit of statistics.
Okay, good. Yes, sir.
For managed genetics, to be precise.
Good for you. Okay.
Intelligence officer for the Navy.
One more time.
Intelligence officer for the Navy.
I love it. Other people, other ideas of things that you want to do. Okay, how many of you have like a dream idea of something you'd like to do? A dream.
I want to open a restaurant.
You want to open a restaurant. Anybody else? Back in the back. Auto shop. Did you have one?
Yeah, I can be a lawyer.
Lawyer.
I'd like to be a blacksmith.
I love it. This is great. Over here. You know, now, here's the thing. Here's the good news. And I'll say this to you. As long as you have a passion, for what you're doing, that's a big step in being successful.
Taste the passion.
It has to be. Here's the thing. How many of you have passions? Raise your hand. Things that you're good at. Okay. I'm going to ask a couple of people to volunteer something that you're good at. This guy right here, gentlemen. What are you good at? Cooking. Give me something else. Who are good? Who? Show me somebody who's good at something. Pick something. Your girlfriend's holding. Yes. You are. Yeah. Is it speaking? Okay.
I spray paint. I'm a spray paint artist.
You're a spray paint artist. I like that.
Yes.
Like
He really
what kind of
is.
stuff?
Like,
Stencils?
well, yeah, stencil art and like face painting. Like, if you were to give me like an object, I can make art out of it. Like,
Yes.
abstract.
I love it.
style.
Okay, so I'll ask this question. How many of you, if you think about yourself and you think about, forget about like school right now, think about something or things that you have in your, when I say wheelhouse, does that make sense to you?
What?
When I say something like, if it's in your wheelhouse, it's an old, this is a very early 1950 terms. Wheelhouse, what is a wheelhouse? Yes, sir.
It's, to take it literally, it's things you're good at.
Yes.
It's, if you say it's in your wheelhouse, means it's literally a house of stuff you're good at.
Yes.
Like if you're good at creating things, you're good at just art in general. If you say that's in your wheelhouse, means you're good at.
Correct. Now, how many, raise your hand if you're good at something. I hope everybody's good at something. No, because everybody has, there's always some things you're good at, some things you stink at. How many people are really good at something? Okay, how many of you, put your hands up, how many of you, if you could, would you like to work in the field of what you just raised your hand about? Now, isn't that interesting? So the hands went from a few people being entrepreneurs to people kind of not.
So it's less of a, it's a sort of. It's not like a not really, it's more of like a sort of.
A sort of. Okay, here's how it works, guys. How many of you know what passion means? What's
Something
passion?
that you really, like something you hold very dear, or a huge dream that, basically like a dream job or something, like something bigger. That would be a passion, like something you hold very dear.
Okay.
Whether it be an object or an idea.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, the number one thing that keep people interested in their occupation and their job so they don't burn out or get fired or quit is one thing. What is it? You have to be passionate about what you do career-wise if you want to enjoy your career and do well at it. Passion. Which means if you get into something that you don't like, you're going to have to find something else in your life you have passion over. So that's the difference between a job and a career. You guys know the difference? How many of you have jobs? Anybody? Where do you work? In the back. Where? Ulster. Give me another. Where else? Yes, sir. What? I'm sorry? In and Out. I like In and Out. You like In and Out?
Yeah.
Family owned.
It tastes a lot better if it works.
It tastes better if you work there? See, I would think if I worked there, I'd never be able to eat a hamburger again. No, because my high school job, I worked at 31 flavors. I mean, have you ever I used to like ice cream. Until you serve ice cream after ice cream after ice cream. I could not eat ice cream for 10 years. I couldn't even smell it. Yeah. Okay? So, job satisfaction, you have to think about the fact that in life, things that keep people going are passions. You cannot lose your passion. It's very, very important. If you can relate your passion into your job, you are a lucky person. That's what an entrepreneur is. Entrepreneurs usually take on things because it's something that they're really passionate about. You have to be passionate. You have to be driven. You have to have your your moral compass set where you're going to make it as an entrepreneur. If that's not something that you feel like you can do, then you're better looking at like a job, something that you just go to make money. There's nothing wrong with that. Most people who have jobs, by the way, don't like their job. Why do they do it? Gentleman in the back with a hat. Money. Money's important, right? But would you rather make money doing something that you enjoy, or would you rather make money doing something that you hate? Mr. Van, you. Would you rather do something that you like, or would you rather do something where you made money? Okay, would it be nice if you could enjoy it and make money? Okay, so the question then is, would you want a job that you enjoyed more that made less money, or would you want a job that you hated that you made more money?
The age-old question.
No, I'm asking this question. This is very important because you guys are in high school and you're not supposed to like think this far ahead. I'm putting some seeds in here.
Sort of think.
You sort of what?
I sort of planned ahead because when in freshman year I used to have like a college and pretty much a college and career prep course.
Good. It did. Really? Nice.
It was like 2 years ago. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was horrendously boring, but
Yeah.
I did some studies. So
Uh-huh.
most of the science
Yeah.
jobs, for some reason in America, only pay like a mean of like
Yeah.
$70,000 per year.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
Which is kind of really low.
Yeah.
You can do other jobs that do like twice as much,
Correct.
that aren't very much harder than science.
Correct. Did everybody? What's your first name?
Holland.
Holland. Okay.
Like the country calling.
Holland. Has everybody heard what Holland's saying? He's saying some really, really good stuff today. And it's good that you guys hold on to this because what I'm hoping from the talk today that you guys are going to leave here feeling inspired, not bored. If you get bored, raise your hand. No, I mean that. If somebody's falling asleep, tell me.
I was actually going to answer your question.
Yes, sir.
I think it would depend more on how much of the monetary loss you're taking and whether it would be enough to affect your quality of life outside of work.
Mhm.
But generally, I would rather do something I enjoyed if I'm going to be stuck there for 8 hours a day.
Great. So I'll raise. Yes, sir. Okay. So how many of you, if you could do a job that you enjoyed and you could make a living doing, how many of you would want to do that?
I have a small question.
Okay, now look, this is important. I want to see if does anybody not? Is anybody? Well, I'm kind of still asleep. So if you're still asleep, shake your head, jump up and down, because this is an important question. I'll ask it again. All the way in the back. I'm looking at the back. All right, let me see. Who's not looking at me? If you could have a job that was in your wheelhouse that you enjoyed, and you could make a decent living, how many of you would want to do that? Raise your hand. Let me see. Is there anybody who wouldn't? And then I'm going to ask you why. Okay, how many of you would want to take a job where you could make money, but it's not your passion, and you have to find something else? Raise your hand. Look, some people like jobs. No. A lot of people like a job. They go to the job, they punch in at 8 o'clock, they punch out at 4 or 5 o'clock, and they're like, okay, I'm done. I've been working at Chipotle all day. I smell like food. I can't eat it, but it's done. Now I can go do my passion, which is surfing. Okay, so my point is as follows. Everybody in life needs a passion. Everybody. If you don't have one, think of one. Passions are things that you really enjoy, and if you're good at it, it really helps. Because if you're good at something and you're passionate, your performance will be heightened. Agreed? All right, so important stuff. So you guys are in a situation where you're trying to put together your best possible high school portfolio to go to what? How many of you want to go to a university? Raise your hand. This is going to be interesting. How many of you want to go to a trade school if you know what that is? Okay, see, it's interesting because what's going on nationwide now is we got about a 50-50 split. If we go nationwide now and I go into a high school in Minnesota and I go, how many of you want to go to a university? Half of the hands typically will go up. I ask how many of you want to go to a trade school? Half of the hands go up. Why? Because we look at the outcome studies now. That the way that universities really work now, and just so you understand how traditional universities work, most universities are training people to be teachers. Did you know that? If you go to an academic university, what they're really trying to train you to do is do something professional related to the industry that you're in. For example, I was a psych major in college, right? And at that point, the movement for me as an undergraduate psych major was to continue doing psych as teaching in a university, which I did, some of. Great, but you need a passion about how many of you like to teach? Good. Teaching's fun, but tough. But in universities, usually you're being trained either to be a professor in a department in a university or onto a profession that requires an advanced degree. Now, we still have professions that require advanced degrees. Think of some. What would be a couple of examples? You need an advanced degree to be a blank. A medical doctor, yes. What else do you need a university degree to be able to do career-wise? Yes, sir?
Veterinarian.
Yes. You have to go to vet school, right, which is a whole other... any of you know about vet school? Okay, vet school. How many of you like vet school? Vet school is great. However, it's harder to get into vet school than medical school. Did you know that? Do you want to know why?
I think it's because it's a bit saturated. That's my guess.
No. Well, it is saturated only because, do you know how many vet schools we have in the U.S.?
A lot.
No.
There's two in California.
There's one in California.
I thought there was one in Pomona.
No, they lost their accreditation. Yeah, there's one in California, it's UC Davis. Any of you know where UC Davis is? You ever been to a farm before?
Oh, yeah.
It's like the biggest farm in California. I went there. In my freshman dorm room, I had cows outside of my dorm room. No, it's like you're on a farm, in the middle of nowhere, for 4 years. And it's got a great vet school, but getting in there, very difficult. But there are careers that you might go into that are professional careers, called those still, things will change, that you need a college degree. You have to go to graduate for most things, guys. I hate to tell you, undergraduate degree, it's not going to get you much. Trust me, I've looked into this, I've talked to people. The best single undergraduate major, if you don't want to go on to graduate school, this is where I'm leading into entrepreneurs, is what?
English.
No, I wish. You know what? English is great. How many of you, English is so important. You got to be able to write. Reading is important too. No, but that's not the one. Number one, this is the one that gets linked the most to people who want to become entrepreneurs. This may not even be an interest of theirs, but if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to be able to do this. What's the degree? Nope. And you can do this as an undergrad at some schools, which is really cool. So this is one of the valuable undergraduate degrees that you guys should write down. Write this down. Because I'm telling you, even if you're an artist, how many of you are artists? Guitarists? Musicians? See, we're getting into my passions. Mechanics? People like working on cars? Good. Cooking? Love it. Okay. If you go to a university and you want to be an entrepreneur, no, close. But even in any career, anything you do, you need to be able to do this, unless you want to always work for somebody else, which is okay. Being your own boss has its ups and downs, trust me. Business! Who said that? Raise your hand. Business. Okay, then here's the problem. Very few undergraduate schools have business majors. They don't. Why? See if you guys can get this. Why don't they offer business majors in college? I'm serious. See if you get it. I haven't found one. I have found one university in California that actually has an undergraduate business administration major. Can you believe? I couldn't believe it because most of them don't. Because why?
Because it's hard to find a professor who also runs a business.
You know, that's a really good point. You make some really good points.
Right.
That's good. Some do, some don't. You're right. Go ahead.
Perhaps because America wants followers and not leaders.
Well, yeah, it's been a life. That's getting worse. No, that is. You guys realize that's getting worse about the follower thing? It's another topic.
I guess there's not high enough demand. There's not a lot of people that go like, oh, I want. What are the odds of someone's going to be like, oh, I want to be a doctor or a lawyer versus like, I want to become a business.
Right. Well, let me also help you guys out. Most people do not know what they are year of their life. I'll go that way instead. instead of here in college. Guess what?
Second year in college.
Yeah, okay, so good point. So most people, you're not supposed to really know what you're supposed to do right now. How many of you know what you want to do? That's impressive. Really, you might change your mind. That's okay. Because most people don't know what they're going to do until probably midway through trade school or college because you change your mind. You learn new things. Also, you guys are all under 18?
I'm 17.
Anybody 18? Anybody 25? No, that's what I'm asking. Any of you 25? I'm going to ask, why is 25 so important? People in the back. Teachers, administrators, why is 25 an important number? See if you guys know the number 25. Why is 25 important? On the back table. Come on, you guys. 25 is important because why? That's when your brain stops developing. Huh? 26? Okay, I'll give you the rate. Okay, first of all, when you hear a number like 25, when we think of science, anybody science majors? You guys know what standard deviations are?
Oh yeah, that's statistics.
Okay.
Plus
So,
or minus a few percent.
yeah, I stink in statistics. But with that said, look, here's 25 means that's kind of the average. Some people's brains stop developing at 21. Some people's brains stop developing at 32. Why is that important? Because your brain isn't cooked yet. And when it's not, you have all sorts of different things that come in. It's a good thing. Trust me. Yes, sir.
And I'm assuming that the reason why lots of teenagers do stupid things because during adolescence, that's pretty much when the brain is at its peak in development. It's like when it's starting to develop the most.
Right. And okay, that's a separate talk. But then what can really? I don't want to give this talk today. I gave this talk last week at Lohe Country Day.
But I think that sort of will lead into
Yeah, I don't want to get into health stuff with you guys, but I'll just say this to you. Guys, I'm not going to preach about alcohol and drugs and things other than I will tell you this as a doctor. I've worked with a lot of people who are 20, 21, who smoked too much pot in high school or drank a little bit too much, and guess what can happen? I'm being really honest with you guys. You can get brain damage. I have 2 clients right now that I'm working with. Great people. Did too much pot in high school. Guess what? Their brains are somewhat damaged. Okay, they're on medication. I've got them doing a lot of rehabilitative stuff. They're going to be okay. But be careful, please. No, I'm just saying that I'm not trying to scare you. I'm saying, look, you know what? I have 5 kids. So I'm 5 teenagers. So I'm constantly with my kids saying, please, and you guys know how it goes, but just be careful. But what I'm going to get to now is to move into is why business. Okay, look, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, what's your boyfriend's name? What's his name? What's your name? Come on. He's going to come help me do this talk. Come on.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah. No, I'm not embarrassing you.
I don't know. Okay, cool.
No, it's good. It's good. Okay, because you can't get answers from your girlfriend.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm not embarrassing you. I'm asking you to help me. Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, if that's seriously, and I'm saying keep your minds open. But if you guys have any desire to run anything having to do with your own anything, you better know how to run a business. No, I mean that. Yourself. Unless you have a lot of money and you can hire somebody else to do it, if you're going to go to college and you're going to be a entrepreneur, meaning that this is something you want to do, it would be really important, if you can't be a business major, to take some classes that have to do with business, like accounting.
Oh, yeah, I know how that feels because my mom runs a small tax practice. She's a CPA.
And how's she do? She all right?
Yeah,
She's a CPA. See,
Yeah.
the CPAs are very organized and methodical.
Busy and have to pretty much drink caffeine 24/7
Yep.
during busy season.
Yep.
I go this because I've been doing this for a while. As I said, it's my mom, so.
Right. Okay, so when I say the word business, how many of you are freaking out right now? Raise your hand. Be honest. Business. Okay, so what I'm saying, if those of you who, again, let me see the entrepreneurs again. Raise your hand. You don't have to you're not written in stone. You can change your mind 11 times. If you really want to run your own business, then the best possible major that you could take in college to help you run a business is something related to business. Now, schools will have degrees like accounting. They will have lots of different names for different types of business things, but the closer you can get to something related to business as an undergrad, you possibly could run a business after you graduate from college with an undergraduate degree, because you learned how to do what? Business. Right. Now, the reason why most colleges don't do it is because you guys know what an MBA is? That's a 2-year Master's of Business Administration. How many of you have heard of MBAs? Most people who go to work for businesses these days get a master's degree in business. It's 2 years after college. Some people do it at night school, some people do it at university, but knowing how to run a business, if you don't know how to run a business, you won't make it. I'm just being honest with you guys. Unless you have a lot of money and you can hire a business manager, but if you're a real entrepreneur and you want to do something really meaningful, you got to know how to run a business. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to read some of the statistics off on the studies just so you can kind of hear some things, and let's talk about it. So these are cool. These are just out. And this is a study I worked on at UCSD. And let me share some things with you. Okay, we studied 5 variables. You ready? Number 1, openness to experience. 2, extroversion. 3, conscientiousness. 4, agreeableness. And 5 is something we call neuroticism. Anybody want to know what neuroticism means? Anybody want to guess? What does neuroticism mean? It's actually not, the term shouldn't have been used because it's not, but what do you think it means?
Something to do with the brain, maybe like ideology.
Neuroticism. Do you know what that means? English teacher in the back?
Neuroticism?
Here it comes. Okay. Neuroticism. Have you ever heard of the word neurotic? Okay, when you think of neurotic, what do you think of? Do you think crazy or you think anxious?
I just think of weird things.
Yeah.
Maybe blinking your eyes more often than not. Just little things that is annoying, but not really that definitive of anything else. Just kind of maybe make people a little uncomfortable around you because they're a little weird outside of the norm.
Okay, I like that. Good. Oh, great answer. Neuroticism, I'll give it to you this way without, I teach AP Psych, so I won't tell you guys what into the definition of neuroticism. Neuroticism, basically, we use this term as kind of psychologically unstable. Even though when we say somebody is neurotic by definition, that actually means they're high functioning. You want to be neurotic. Neurotic means that if you have a problem, you don't take it out on other people, you sit with it. Like you get depressed or you get confused, you don't take it out on somebody. So neurotic actually is good. Neuroticism in this thing is, we used it more as kind of a term of psychologically not doing so great. Okay, so here are the categories that we picked. You ready? Yeah. Open to experience. You ready? You think that open to experience for entrepreneurs should be high or low? Open to experience. How many people want to say high? Who wants to say no? Okay, so one of the big factors that we found in this study with over 8,000 people.
That's a decent sample size.
It's okay. It was random. It was randomly assigned, so we actually, the research design of this one, we actually did pretty well. We haven't been fought. We haven't been fought yet.
8,000 should be good enough.
8,000 should be okay according to us. So open to experience, yes, that is high. We want people who want to be an entrepreneur. They do better if they're open to experience, extroverted. Anybody know what that means?
Outgoing.
Yeah, how many of you are outgoing? It's hard. No, seriously, outgoing is one of those things that naturally only about 2% of the population is actually born outgoing. How about that, genetically? The rest of us, you got to learn how to do it. It's hard. You got to practice. Open to experience. All right, so that's good. How many of you are open? A lot of you? All right. Extroversion. Third, conscientiousness. What does that mean?
Probably explains about how other people view you.
Conscientiousness actually means how much you're paying attention to things that you're doing. How on top of things are you?
Wouldn't that be more accurately described as concentration?
Same thing. It's a division of it, just another fancy word. But in our categories.
Fancy words make people sound smart. That's why.
Yeah, you're probably right. Okay, so out of these categories, I'll read through it quickly. the three highs for entrepreneurs. And this study was done with 8,000 successful entrepreneurs.
Ah, that's my
Okay,
influence.
successful. Big successful people. And there's a lot of areas in here that are going to surprise you. But high in open to experience, high in extroversion, and high in conscientiousness. Now, what do you guys think about the last two? Agreeableness and neuroticism. What do you think that's going to be on an entrepreneur? Are they going to be high or low on being agreeable? I'm going to get somebody new. Come on, somebody take a stab. You take a stab. I'll repeat the question.
No, I heard you.
You're thinking about her too much. You got to... No. High school relationships are really important. So let's talk about this. What do you think about agreeableness? Does an entrepreneur, somebody who's agreeable or non-agreeable?
So like,
Agreeable means that you're in a room with a bunch of people and these people have an idea. Here's your entrepreneur in there. Is that entrepreneur going to be agreeable to everybody's thing, or are they going to say, I don't know?
they're gonna have their own view.
They're going to have their own view. Why is that important?
Because they won't be trying to make their idea match with other people's ideas for one thing, would destroy their ideas, which would make them not an entrepreneur, but would make them more along the lines of a committee person.
Right. So when we did this factor, anybody of you do statistics? Do you guys know what factor analysis is?
We kind of, but we've mostly forgotten it.
The term we used, like agreeableness, was kind of a consensus. The term that I wanted to use was more direct. It was more about being invested rather than agreeable. Agreeableness means, or lack thereof, means that you have your own ideas that you can understand other people's, but you have something else, okay, that you have that might be different. So by definition, how many of you in here, if you're in a group of people, that you'll find yourself kind of agreeing with the group? Raise your hand, because this is typical. Agreeing with a group. Okay, here's how it goes. The larger the group you're in, the more agreeable you become. How about that? The smaller group you're in, the less agreeable. That's just social psychology. It's interesting. So the more people that you're around, the less likely you're going to think for yourself. And we see this in crime, I hate to tell you. The more people that witness a crime, the less people interact. You know that? Huh? Somebody's getting attacked in downtown San Diego. If 50 people are watching, there's less of a likelihood of somebody helping if 3 are.
Yeah.
How about that? That's human nature. Why? They're going to think they're going to do it. Somebody else is going to call 911, right?
It's a vicious cycle.
You have to be an independent thinker. How many of you are independent thinkers? That means you have your own ideas, you appreciate other people, but... So, on our list of successful entrepreneurs, here's what we got in terms of personality. A, open to experience, not closed-minded. How many of you are open-minded? You're not fixed in what you do, and at your age, you're not supposed to be fixed. Extroversion. How many of you are extroverted? How many of you want to be extroverted? Okay, extroversion is a trait that you can be born with or you can develop. Trust me. I have first-hand experience in that. I started doing TV news back in 2005. I started doing TV. I'd never been on TV before. I don't like cameras. When I got on camera for the first time, for the first 6 months, I coughed. Through every interview I ever did, or anybody I interviewed, I coughed. They thought I had pneumonia. No, it was awful. Terrible. I was nervous. I watched these tapes. And finally, after practicing in front of mirrors and in front of teleprompters, after you do something long enough, guess what? You don't get free. Think about it. If you guys have done something that you're not good at, you practice it, what happens? You get better, right? Anybody think of something like that? Go ahead, Holland.
I can. I used to I think summer classes for how to make stained glass window paint and stuff, so I used to be really bad at cutting the glass. Now I'm much better.
Practice helps.
Learning to drive a stick.
Learn to drive a stick, yeah. So the point is that if people practice doing something and you have motivation to do it, you can learn it. Okay? I went through, it took me a year to get over coughing. A year! It's a long time to cough. But I kept pushing and pushing, and finally got to the point where, I could talk in front of a lot of people and I don't get nervous anymore. But that's not my character. Okay, so with that, extroversion, these things that we're talking about, I don't want you to think, oh gee, I left the talk today, and according to this guy, I don't have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Wrong. Okay, so these are the basic ones we have. These are also done with adults. So these are like people, the numbers, these are people who like did it. And there's interesting things about entrepreneurs that I'll share more. But you guys got that. So let's look at this. High in openness to experience, high in extroversion, high in conscientiousness, low in agreeableness, and low in neuroticism, which means that people who are entrepreneurs tend not to have too many psychological problems. They tend to be relatively stable. Does that make sense? How are you going to run a business if you're not stable?
That's just common sense.
Doesn't? You'd be surprised. All right, next. How you doing over here?
Pretty good.
I got to wake him up. All right, let's see. All right, how about common attributes? Where do they come from? Backgrounds. You ready for this? How many of you think that entrepreneurs come from wealthy, stable families? Raise your hand. Wealthy, stable. Go ahead, sir. You think so?
Yeah.
Why do you think? Why do you think? No.
Because they have the most opportunities.
You would think so.
But I know you're gonna be like, oh yeah, it's actually the
Let
other
me
way.
guess.
It's the other way. But you're right. You would think that by having more opportunities, that you would be more of an entrepreneur. No.
You have no need to be, really. That's one thing. And the poor people have more reason to become entrepreneurs because they need ways to make more money, and being an entrepreneur will be an easy way of making money for them.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. However, I'll be on. Nothing's easy. No, I'm just saying nothing's.
I'm
You gotta
aware
work.
of that. I'm just using it as an example and a point.
Yeah, I think it's great. No, I think he's right on. So, broken homes. Most entrepreneurs come from divorced families and broken homes. How about this one? In fact, I'll give you, in our study, 90%.
That's a great statistic because it's
90%. 90% of the successful entrepreneurs, and I don't want to tell you who was in our, we had a couple of heavy hitters that you guys know in our study, purposely, just to kind of see if it threw stuff off. And no, it wasn't Trump. Or Hillary. Thank goodness. 90%. Okay, how about this one? What percent do you think of entrepreneurs actually earned a bachelor's degree? No, now let me give you the numbers, because these are done with people who are old, like me. So nobody in our study was under 30. I'm way older than that. But so they're all 30 and over. Okay, so with that said, let's try this again. We're going back in time also, right? It's only been relatively recently, everybody, that college has become a real problem for most people getting into with trade schools. In the old days, okay, I went to UC Davis. When I graduated from high school to get into UC Davis, you guys know what Davis is? Because I told you about the 4.2 for UCLA, right? Okay, back when I went to high school, guess what you needed to get into UC Davis? Just guess GPA. What? 3.0. Combined SAT. SAT is now at a 24, right?
No, that's the SAT.
No, what's the SAT at it now?
The SAT is
What is it?
around 6.
Is it still 1600?
Yeah.
They lowered back now.
Good. Okay, because it used to be weird. Okay, back when I took the SAT, the highest you could get was 1600. To get in the University of California, except for Berkeley, you needed a what on the SAT?
1600.
To get in back then. We're talking 20 years ago. What did you need? A 3.0 and a what? A 900. SAT combined score. You get 300 for filling out your name right. No, did you know that?
Oh yeah.
If you fill your name out right and put your address there, and actually you get the right school that you went to, you get 300 points. I'm wrapping up. Okay. I don't want to bore you. All right, I'm giving you last statistics, and then I'll open up for a few questions. All right, ready? 95% earned a bachelor's degree. All right, 47% in our sample had advanced degrees. 47% in our sample had advanced degrees. That means like a master's, right? Okay. 75% ranked among the top 30% of their class in high school. Okay. 67% ranked among top 30% in their undergraduate class in college. Okay. Let me give you a couple others. 70% married as an entrepreneur. Okay, so this gives us some of our demographics that I wanted to share. Now let's go here. Factors for success. Here's what we found. Prior work experience. Learning from previous success and failures. Strong management team, and a good sense of fortune. So these are all the variables that we found. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that you guys might find interesting. And these are the points that we found in our interviews. How do you find the right business for yourself? Number one, explore your personality. That's your wheelhouse. It's really important if you're going to be an entrepreneur that you do something that you really like. You have to like it, like really be passionate for it. You have to be courageous. What does that mean? Okay, so in our sample, just as an example, every one of our people in our sample, you ready for this? Crashed and burned. Everybody failed. What does that tell you? Everybody in our successful group of entrepreneurs went through at least one major failure along the way. Like, we're talking major. And they came out of it and did what? Blew the top off. No, it's really, really interesting. So, if you make a mistake...
So you're saying that to succeed as an entrepreneur, you first have to fail.
In our study sample...
You're most likely going to fail.
In our, what we looked at characteristics of successful entrepreneurs, right? So we take this group that's already successful, we go, okay, how did these people get successful? And we do this factor analysis, and we find out that everybody in our sample had a failure, a big failure. And out of the failure, they got better. Better. No. Better. Why? Why does that happen? Why, if you fail at something, do you get better? Why?
Because you learn from your mistakes.
You learn from your mistakes. Okay, so keep this in mind, and then I'll open up for a couple of questions. So, entrepreneurs, great idea. I think it's a great thing for everybody to look into and do. I think everybody has their individual quest to do that. These days, we're looking at two important things. I'm sure you've heard of what's called branding. Have you heard of branding? Have you heard of the word niche?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the two buzzwords right now for you guys. You ready? Or what? What are the words? Okay. Who knows the words? Branding. What does branding mean? Branding means that you're taking your idea and you're making your idea unique to everything else by one thing. Who knows what copyright means?
Oh, yes, the infamous.
Okay, copyright means that you take something and you put a trademark on it, right? Sounds good. So nobody copies you, right?
And
However,
if they do, they have to pay you.
if they copy you, then they have to pay you. However, all you have to do to get out of a copyright situation is put one extra thing in your program that the other one doesn't have, and guess what? You're not breaking a copyright. You have your own thing. So the idea here, what you guys have to think about is developing your own idea and developing what's called a niche. And then I'm going to end on a niche. A niche means that in this day and age, that you're trying to find a population and an idea that hasn't been done yet. That's a niche. Can anybody think of a good niche? A niche means that you're very specific in your skill. What you want to do as an entrepreneur, you're just one thing different. I'll give you one. I branded this woman. She came to me. She was a personal trainer. You know what personal trainers are? Right, they train people, right? And she was like every other personal trainer, not doing okay, not making a lot of money, but very passionate. And after working with her for a while, I found out that there was one thing that she did in her personal training that nobody else did, which was that she did boot camps. You guys know what a boot camp is? Boot camps for moms. Boot camps for moms of kids. I'm like, wow. I've never heard of a trainer who just does boot camps for moms. Guess what? We branded her. She went from having, 5 or 6 clients to now having two other personal trainers work for her because her niche is boot camps for moms with kids. So her niche and her branding was bootcampsformoms.com. Guess what? Blew off the top. She's doing great. One thing that's different. Okay, so with all of that said, let me open for some questions. And was this helpful or confusing? Somebody say something. Gentlemen.
Oh, I have a question about the study.
Yes,
So
sir.
by what means were those variables evaluated?
You mean in terms of statistics?
Most likely a survey.
No,
Oh no. It was a self-report from them, which is not a bad research. Self-report and then external criteria, like income, education, all those things were looked at and factors to kind of put together. The ones who were doing the best were the ones who they did go to a university, but again, our numbers are a little bit higher because they're older, right? So nowadays, I think in the new studies, because I'm doing one right now with 30-year-olds, and I think I'm going to find that there's a balance between universities and trade schools now. It's going to be like this. You can get entrepreneurs who go to trade schools. You can have entrepreneurs who go to universities. It's really what's in here and your dedication. So on a final, and then I'll open for a couple of questions.
I think we're ready for transitioning to this class, so just like
We're done.
final conclusion.
But if they'd like to ask you questions,
You can. I'll leave my number. Call me. You can email me. That's fine. I'll leave my stuff with you. Don't give up. Enjoy it. No, seriously. Look for your passions, everybody. If you can relate your passion into your profession, you will be a much happier person, and you'll make more money. Job satisfaction and income, 1-to-1 correlation. Higher job satisfaction, the more money you make. Okay.
Let's have a nice round of applause.
Good luck, you guys. Thanks for being here.